Welcome to the video, guys. I'm Rooster, and this is your Gaming News Roundup. In a surprise discovery through LinkedIn, it seems as though Dan Norberger has left his role as the game director at the Initiative, where he was directing the Perfect Dark project. His experience at the Initiative is marked as ending in February, having been there for over 3.5 years, and his profile is marked as open for work. This is yet to be announced officially by the Initiative, and the lack of a new position and Dan being open to work implies that he didn't simply leave for a better opportunity. With this being the second high-profile departure from the Initiative in the past year, the design director Drew Murray also left a while back, things don't seem to be looking good for the Initiative at the moment. GSC made a rather subtle update to the Stalker 2 recently without even telling anyone, but it's not really hard to see the meaning behind the subtle change. GSC are unfortunately at the heart of the Russian-Ukraine conflict, being based in Kiev, and so recently put out a statement that development of Stalker 2 has been put on hold while they focus on helping their employees and their families, but they have gone ahead and made one small update to the game's Steam page by changing the name from Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl to Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl. Okay, hear me out. There is actually a difference here. See, the original title used the Romanized Russian spelling of Chernobyl with an E, probably due to this being the more commonly known spelling, but have now updated it to the Romanized Ukrainian spelling Chernobyl with an O. Again, it's not really hard to understand why they made this change, and I'm all for it. They now just need to update all of their promotional art and box art and everything. In complete contrast to last week's news that Gamescom were returning with its in-person event, this year EA has told IGN that it will not be hosting its EA Play Live event at all this year, and will instead be sharing information about their franchises when the time is right for each of them individually. EA had this to say: "We love EA Play Live as it's our way of connecting with our players and sharing what's new with all of you. However, this year things aren't lining up to show you everything on one date. We have exciting things happening at our world-class studios, and this year we'll reveal much more about these projects when the time is right for each of them. We look forward to spending time with you throughout the year." EA commonly hosted a large press conference as part of the E3 event, but back in 2016 broke away from that and started hosting its own EA Play Live event, which it has continued ever since, where it commonly showed off what was coming from EA and updates on most of their ongoing franchises, such as Apex Legends. But now with the cancellation of EA Play Live for this year, it seems like we will get a steady drip of information about their games throughout the year instead. Bethesda has finally put out a new Into The Starfield video this week, linked in the description below if you are interested and want to watch it yourself. And if you're a Bethesda fan or interested in Starfield at all, I highly encourage you to go and watch it. But for those who don't want to go and watch the sit-down talk between the game, design, art and quest directors, I'll break down a few of the notable things said in the video for you. Starting out, we had a few pretty standard but nonetheless interesting quotes from the group, saying things like, "You're not just playing a game, you're living in this universe. We put you in the situation where you're gonna decide what happens. We don't just make RPGs, we make simulations." And it's nice to go back to things we didn't do, the backgrounds, the traits, all those stats. So a brief comment on the backgrounds was made here, and a little more on that in a moment as they transition into comments on the factions of the game. Factions being something Bethesda like to put a lot of focus on in their games. They mentioned the United Colonies, which represent the future of Space Republic, the Freestar Collective, which are like cowboy western space fantasy, people living out on the frontier, and the Ryujin Industries, which is the corporate life in Starfield, where it was stated that this faction, and I quote, "has one of the best starts." So I think we can consider the starting factions in Starfield being somewhat similar to the Cyberpunk origin stories. Let me know down in the comments section whether that excites you or worries you. Finally choosing to mention the Space Pirate faction, the Crimson Fleet, as a bad guy group, but how they are not just a foe, but the players can choose to join them if they so choose, or maybe they could play Space Cop and report back on them, really opening up some faction interactions here. A small comment was made on companions playing a strong role in this game, with a big focus on how they feel about your character, so hopefully an advancement on the Fallout 4 companion system. And lastly, they mentioned working on a persuasion minigame that wasn't originally intended to be an evolution of the old Oblivion persuasion system, but there's definitely some similar beats there. Well, I don't know about you, but all that Starfield information really gets me excited, and I can't wait to find out some more. From Software have dropped the major patch 1.03 for Elden Ring this week, and it's a pretty substantial one. You can find the full patch notes on Bandai Namco's site, linked down in the description, but I'll cover some of the more relevant parts here. There are a couple of pretty interesting additions to the game, including updated and finished NPC questlines that had previously been believed to be bugged by much of the community, additional NPC summons in certain locations, as well as a new map marker to show you where NPCs and merchants who you have already discovered are, so no more trying to work out which grace that merchant you want was near. You will have to have met the NPC before they appear on your map though, so keep exploring, Tarnished. The patch also comes with many bug fixes and balance improvements, as I'm sure you can imagine. Most notably, smithing stones are now easier to acquire with higher drop rates and cheaper purchase prices. The Ash of War Hoarfrost Stomp comes with a major damage nerf, while taking longer to cast, and Bloody Slash getting a similar treatment with lower damage and costing more of the player's health to cast. The ever-favourite Spirit Summon, Mimic Tier, has also received a damage and attack pattern nerf. The Mimic Tier very quickly became most people's favourite, so this might encourage people to branch out and try out some of the other Spirit Summons. And now, the really big story of the week. This week brought us a state of play from PlayStation, dedicated to the long-anticipated Harry Potter Hogwarts Legacy, showing 14 full minutes of gameplay, linked down in the description below, and I honestly urge you to go and watch it if you're even remotely interested in this game. I'll break down some key points I noted here, but there is so much more information in that video than what I can cover here. Well, with that out of the way, let's talk about Hogwarts Legacy. The 14 minutes consist of in-game footage, both gameplay and cinematics, from a work-in-progress build of the game running on the PS5, and let me say, the graphics look good. Nothing groundbreaking, but certainly a very pretty game. The castle itself and the grounds look very open and detailed, with plenty of students that appear to be going about their business, which really helps to give the game a lived-in world feeling. The player will arrive at Hogwarts as a late starter in their 5th year, be sorted into one of the 4 houses where they will spend their time in their fully designed common room, going to classes where they will be taught by an interesting and colourful cast of teachers, and explore the Hogwarts castle where they will find secret passageways and magical puzzles to solve. The Room of Requirement also makes an appearance as a customizable hub room for the player to use however they wish. The combat looks flashy and extensive, with a wide range of spells to utilise, far away from the more magic gun combat we had back in the later Harry Potter games based around the movies. Enemies will also use a wide range of spells and defensive and offensive abilities against the player, which helps to give reason for the dodging and rolling mechanic the combat appears to have now. Players can also use potions, which the player can brew themselves, to grant themselves special bonuses and abilities, as well as bring in a variety of magical plants, like young mandrakes, to incapacitate your foes in combat. The game takes place during the 1800s, but we can still expect to see a few familiar names and faces, the gameplay showing nearly headless Nick, and one moment with a floating man in luminous bright clothes who can only be Peeves the Poltergeist. Companions will be a part of the game, with their own stories which the player can befriend and build relationships with. Dynamic seasons and climate changes throughout the game, with shops and vendors dotted all around Hogsmeade for the player to explore and shop at. And we even see a brief snippet to do with talent trees, which the player can spend points to improve the effectiveness of spells. One of the talent trees was a stealth tree, so I think we're going to see a full RPG skill tree system for this game. Honestly, I've been excited about this game for a very long time, since we first even had hints of rumors that there might be a Harry Potter game in the works. And I had pretty high hopes and expectations for it, and I've been waiting for information for a while. And honestly, what we saw in the state of play has blown me away. The game looks so much bigger than I actually imagined it was going to be, and I can only hope and pray that they pull this off and make an amazing, wonderful wizarding experience for us. Well, guys, bit of a longer one than usual. We had some pretty good news this week. So, as always, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe down the bottom if you want to see more and keep up to date with your gaming news roundup.